In my hand is a stock crank hub for an S55, commonly found in the M2 competition, the M3 and the M4. It is responsible for making sure your motor gets oil and also making sure that everything is in time. Sometimes what can happen is these can spin, which can cause catastrophic motor failure. Now, in most cases, I'll say 95% of cases, it spins, you go out of time, you may cause a little bit of an issue, you get it replaced, you get it upgraded, and you're good to go. This car wasn't so lucky. Hey, this is Brian. Thanks for watching Kies Motorsports. If you like our videos, give us a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe and check us out at kiesmotorsports.com. Now, I know a ton of you have probably seen this car in the back of like at least 30 to 40 videos, because this car has been here for a little while we waited for some parts to come in. Now, before we go any further, let's take a quick moment to talk about what happened with this car. Now, as I mentioned, most of the time when a crank hub spins, you lose timing and it might run like garbage. You just need to get it retimed or whatnot, and you're good to go for a lot of cases. Now, there are cases like this one where you can have catastrophic motor failure. So what happened with this car is he was doing a pull, the car shut off, didn't want to turn back on, got a slew of codes, so had it towed to a local shop. Now, at this shop up in New York, they put a little camera, they took out the spark plug, dropped the camera in, and they noticed that the pistons destroyed the valves, which means your motor is pretty much toast. So today, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take you along. This is not gonna be a DIY, but we're installing a Carbahn Stage 2 motor, super excited, with upgraded cams, and it's never gonna hold the power unless you do a Dodson clutch. Now, although the Carbahn Stage 2 motor over there and also this Dodson clutch are the main two components, there are a number of other things we're going to be doing, so be sure to stay tuned. So as you can imagine, this thing was towed in on a flatbed from pretty far away in New York, actually. And we had to use our forklift to get it in. We didn't forklift it, don't worry, it's not Copart over here. But we did have to hook up the tow strap to the forklift and actually pull it in. Now, one of the things that has saved our butts are these Eastwood dollies. Let me show you how these work. So if you have a shop or a garage that you need to fit multiple cars in. So here, for example, we had 5 cars the other day, and as you can see, space is very limited. So we have this guy, we have sideways, we had car over here, we've got this E46 over here. And the reason that we're able to get all these cars in all these crazy spots is because of these Eastwood dollies. So the way that this works is you first expand it out, which I've already done. I knew I was gonna be holding the camera. And then you slide it in like that. Make sure that you have a little clearance between your rim and this because you don't want it to get scratched. Then what you do, you tighten this, and then you pump it with your foot. And as you pump this together, you're going to notice that the wheel is actually lifting off the ground. Okay. Then once you've done that, there's a little safety pin, put that in, and you are good to go. All right, so now that I have this on the dollies from Eastwood, and we're gonna have links for them down in the description below. We use them all the time. They're amazing. And if you have a shop, you should totally pick up a set. I will say they work best on a smooth ground. I don't know if I'd use them on like a road surface, but either way, they work amazing. So now my challenge is I have to get the car from here to backed in over here. So let's see how far I can get it without needing help. Now, when I move cars by myself, I try to grab the wheel. I don't like to push on body panels at all because they can be really flimsy and you don't want to dent anything. So I'm just gonna grab the wheel and see how far we can go. All right, it's not bad, but I'm exhausted. All right, with a little help from Chris and Blaze, we got the car positioned on the lift. One really cool thing I love about these, we've been talking about these a lot today, but these save our butt. If you have a lowered car, they lift the car as well. So if you're trying to get, you know, something like a jack or a lift arm or something like that under, you get plenty of clearance even on a lowered car. All right, right now, It is about 4:30 and we are about to get started on our motor swap. First thing that I'm doing, I'm already draining the oil. I'm going to drain some of the coolant while I wait for my other tech to get here. And we're going to take off the charge cooler. And while I'm waiting for him, which should be only a couple minutes, I'm going to prep the car as much as I can by myself. Now, like taking the exhaust down, that's kind of a two-person thing. I can still loosen some bolts and whatnot and get ready. So this way, we get in, we're as efficient as possible, get this motor out safely. I gotta take the hood off because we're going to be replacing it with a GTS one, which looks amazing. And yeah, so with that, here we go. So it might be hard to see because it's kind of dark, but carbon fiber drive shaft, look at that. Going down. All right, so what I want to do now is I want to take a moment to tell you kind of where we're at. I know that we're just doing lots of very high level B-roll and time lapses mostly for this engine build. As you may have noticed, this car has been here for a while and we honestly are going to have it till the end of winter. So it's not a crazy rush, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to get everything we need to do in the day done. And then we've been working on this starting at 4:30 and then going until 9, 10, you know, whatever time of night. So we are 2 nights in. Night number 1, we got the trans out, we got the engine out, which is now over here. And night number 2, we got everything switched over. So when you get one of these, this is what it looks like. It's super stripped down and there's pretty much nothing on it. There's not even anything. I mean, you have little studs, that's pretty much it. Outside of that, that's pretty much what it looks like. Now this is actually the blown motor that suffered from a crank hub spin. Now, one thing that I thought was very interesting is that, and we've since tightened it to get the flywheel off, but the bolt, I went and I just grabbed it with my hand and twisted it, and it kept twisting. I was like, oh my gosh. It actually spun so bad that I could literally take the crank bolt out with my hand. And this has insane torque on it. So to be able to just do it with my hand, this thing spun like crazy. I've never seen it like that. We've seen them slip before, but this is the first, we'll say, catastrophic failure that we've actually had. But I was very surprised at that. So in addition to the Carbahn crank hub that this comes with, we are actually going to be putting one of these little crank bolt captures on there to try to prevent that from ever happening again. The crank hub should be able to do it by itself, but hey, never be too safe. So in the engine bay, we have the engine. We have the Carbahn Stage 2 engine in here. We have all of the fueling. We have, you know, just a lot of different things already pre-assembled. I have the turbos on here, torqued back down, all the oil lines, coolant lines. Man, after doing turbos with the engine out of the car, it is so much easier to do it than in there. But yeah, I guess that's the luxury of having the engine out, but it's too much work to just take it out for the heck of it. So I guess I'll be doing more turbos on the car. So the plan for tonight is to finish a lot of this. We're gonna put the intake manifold back on. We're going to put the charge cooler back on, put the charge pipes back on. We're gonna put the radiator back in, fluids, whatnot. We also have our Dodson clutch, which is over towards the back of the car here. So we're going to be putting this bad boy in. Check out the case that this comes in. It's crazy. Comes with these nice instructions. So tonight's mission is we're gonna get this clutch. This is the Sportsman, which is available on our site. And we're going to be putting this in the factory DCT, which I'm really excited for, because not only is this car gonna have a lot of power and a lot of protection with the crank hubs and whatnot, but you're never gonna get the power to the wheels with the stock clutch. So in addition to that, we're probably going to do that new flash from XHP, where we can actually up the line pressures and whatnot. I've been running it on my F80 as a test car, and it is awesome. I definitely highly recommend it. So we're gonna save that, but there's some programming that has to go in with this. If we can get everything pretty much assembled tonight, that would be good. Are we gonna start it tonight? I'm not really sure. That might be tomorrow. We don't wanna rush anything. We wanna make sure that everything is done correctly, everything's torqued down, that needs to get torqued down and whatnot. So with that, what I'm going to do, I just have a couple of little odds and ends. So some of the things that we bought, let's see, like we bought, there we go, one of these oil caps that's gonna go on here. You can see that I already replaced these in this. And while we're doing this, we just have a couple other things. We're actually going to be doing port injection on it as well. Probably gonna put a J-pipe on it. So I'm not really all sure. We're kind of building it as we go. We have just, you know, pretty defined group of what we need to do, and then we're just going to be doing a couple little extras here and there. So right now I'm gonna just do some little odds and ends. I also have to clean up the shop because look at this. It's a complete disaster. We were filming some videos on Edwin's G20 M340i last night and it put down some amazing numbers. Super pumped about that. And then just doing an engine swap was a complete disaster in here. So I'm gonna do some odds and ends. I'm gonna clean up and then I'll see you tonight. All right, welcome back to Thursday. So last night we were able to finish up a lot of the wiring. We were able to get all of those things connected. We put the intake back on. All of this, put, you know, some little odds and ends like these oil caps and whatnot. The big thing that we did last night is we installed the Dodson clutch in this DCT right here. If you haven't done it before, it is so easy. It was our first time and it took us about 15 minutes or so. Now we still have to program it, but we can't do that until this is in the car, but that's gonna be tonight. Now, my goal tonight is to have this car started. Now this car hasn't started, you know, since it's spun its hub 8 months ago, maybe, I guess like 8 months ago, maybe even longer, especially by the time this video actually comes out, because we're normally like 2 weeks to a month behind and actually releasing videos. So when we got this car, you know, the trunk is empty right now, but I put everything that was in the trunk just on those mats right there. When we got the car, the charge pipes, the intakes, the coil packs, the spark plugs, all of that, random nuts and bolts in the trunk. The strut brace that goes across the top of the engine in the trunk, the carbon strut in the trunk, the support brace for underneath, the stiffening plate in the trunk with all the bolts. So we have to go through all of that. We have to sort everything, make sure that we have all the nuts and bolts, know where everything goes, and then that's gonna be part of tonight's project, figuring out what goes where, which we have a really good understanding of these cars, which is really handy. So it shouldn't take us all that much, and we're gonna get this all back on the car after we put the trans in. But with this car, we still have a long way to go. I mean, things like a hood and even with the strut bracing and whatnot, you don't have to have that on to start the car. I mean, we just need to put the radiator, the fan, connect a whole bunch of other things. So there's still a lot of work ahead of us, but I'm pretty confident that we're gonna be able to start this for the very first time tonight. All right, so as you just saw, we did a little time-lapse action. We were not trying to make a DIY at all, but we got that Carbahn Stage 2 motor with upgraded cams, and everything is in the car. The car is running nice, but we are not stopping there. We wanted to just get everything in with those dots and clutches, of course, but now it's time to add fueling, turn up the boost, and there's some more things coming, so you should definitely stay tuned. So anyway, once again, my name is Brian. Thanks for watching Kies Motorsports. If you are interested in any of the parts like the clutch or the motor, be sure to see the links in the description. If you haven't done so already, give us a thumbs up, make sure to subscribe, and check us out at kiesmotorsports.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.